I was abusing my body in a lot of ways, just physically not taking care of myself. I was just completely repulsed about what I looked like in the mirror every time I was in a leotard and tights. And you know, I had shin splints, I had hip problems, I was going to physical therapy, I was going to doing Pilates, and I was doing gyrotonics, doing all these things to try to just get good. And finally, doing bone air water, doing certain techniques that John kind of taught in class, just by having a few classes with him, it kind of melted away all of that other stuff and kind of made me look at who I was and how I was trying to do all these external things to get to really attend to myself.
Totally trusting. You just see it and feel it. You'll know. You feel the reaction? Right, there you go. All the reference you need. Right. Register all the reaction you've got in your body right there. Right? And you know where it was. So in your arms, in your back a little bit, right in your neck, a little bit here. Right, now you want to melt that all the way. All right, make sure the feet are pretty much equal. I don't care if they're like, totally straight like this because maybe it's not very comfortable. If it's a little bit open, that's okay. But try to maintain a sense of parallel as best you can. Good, you're listening. Good. That's it. Don't be afraid to sit. There you go. Right. And totally relax there. Clear of all the anxiety. You want to fall down? Fall down. Yeah. See how she calmed down and said fall down? And then she couldn't fall down. Right? Fear is one of your major, condescenders. All right? Once you get rid of that, you're always ground bound. Where are you falling? You're already there. All right? So the thing is that if you're not afraid to fall, you'll progress that much faster because you take that element out of your vocabulary. Okay?
You have to be graceful, you have to feel the music, you have to do all these things, but really it doesn't make any sense if you're not teaching the dancer from the beginning what it is to actually feel a movement and to dimensionalize your body and to become aware of from the very core of what you're doing, what a plie really is. I mean, was 18 years old when I came to John, and I had no idea what a plie actually felt like until I started slowing down the process. And who would have thought that the slower you go, the faster you learn? I mean,
unless you're very clear about it experientially, not intellectually. The intellect is hooey to me. And I can say that. I work on a university, so it's wash. Experiential stuff is what's important. That's the sentient part of who we are. That's the genius of who we are. So you must create that sentient abstract, that atmospheric thing that you're looking for, and the body will start, through its genius, will start revealing ways for you to capture that. Understand? That's the dance art. That's the life art. So you want to make sure that you're working with that medium in your head, right? On an emotional level, you want to make that contact. Whether battement fondu, développé, tendon, nothing is going to have any sensibility at all. It's just going to be some repetitive thing that you're doing with your bones, right? And that's it. That's all you're going to get back. This is the mirror that you're standing on, the truest mirror. This is garbage. This is the mirror. What you give it, it gives back immediately. You can't want something. Again, that's glorified whining. All right? You must see it, feel it, search for it. The floor will then start reflecting back the honesty of your effort.
Since I started with John, I thought that's what all ballet was. That's my only exposure when I was like 10 years old. That's what I thought a ballet class was. That's how things were done, And then I remember when you came to class, and I was amazed at how just like stiff and unaware, and really like you had all this stuff, and I could tell that you could be really good at, you had the extensions up to there and good feet and all that, but just so unaware of everything that was going on. Mm-hmm. And I was I'm just amazed, honestly. I was shocked, kind of, because I really had no idea.
fact that none of us have been injured, none of the students he's ever taught has ever had an injury, period. And you go to studios and you see these, 12-year-olds with hip problems and knee problems, and there's something very obvious about the way he trains dancers. And in a way, I think we could call him a virtuoso teacher. I think he is, because I think not many teachers understand how to make a dancer become a natural dancer. Natural meaning they're working naturally within their own body confines. And by looking at somebody who understands their body, wow, they look like a natural, it's just so easy for them. But really it's easy because they understand their bodies. And so many teachers will give up on students that aren't natural, okay? Because they have no clue how to bring them into, how to show them the process. And really it's the process, not the product, that he's concerned about.
Because the product is it naturally comes out.
Right.
Without even thinking about it.
I watched primarily because I just wanted to see how John would teach a younger girl. I was there when he was teaching me, but I wasn't taking notes and realizing what he was saying to make me do things. So I wanted to see how he was teaching a student that age. And so I watched all her classes from the beginning, and she progressed so rapidly. It was amazing. She left for about 6 months, and she came back and took one class. And I took that class with her, and she hadn't danced at all the 6 months she was gone, and stood at the bar like she had never left, So, and that's what it does. That's what the technique does.
Did any of them ever have any problems with the eating disorders or anything like that?
One did, yes. One was on Prozac, had an eating disorder. It was basically suicidal when she came to me. And now she's one of my finer dancers, and she's pretty much normal. Well, when she first took class from me, it was the first time it ever happened to me. I just looked at her, and the word pathetic went through my head. Because I saw this broken soul, a broken body, just emptiness, complete emptiness. And when I talked to her after the first class, she's, kind of visited the class I was teaching. And after talking to her, I said, well, there's really not much going on in you anymore, but 1% of you brought you here for some reason. So why don't we dwell on that 1%? She looked at me as like I was some kind of idiot or something. And I went home thinking, I must be an idiot, because I was dwelling on that 1%. That's just my personality. And we've turned it around to where I think now she's probably at 85, 90%. She still has some remnants.
Da da da, yes, get over it, yes, right over it. Yeah, da da da, ba, right. A little more swing for you. I'll start swinging a little more. Da, swing, swing.
The whole thing about John's way of teaching is that you're approaching yourself a different way, and it's by changing your physical being, by kind of getting rid of all those chasms, those emotional. It's by changing your physical body, it's gonna release so much more emotionally, and you're going to start approaching your whole life differently.
The exercise is very revealing about timidity, all right? It's like, I'm seeing that walk, right, like we're on hot coals, all right? Rather than being very bold about where you're going, and it's okay if you run into something. Oh, reference, okay, off the next direction I go, all right? It's really okay, all right? But if we walk very timidly through life, all right, then that's what you're going to get. State of mind, state of movement, state of consciousness, which is what this would be.
Well, I remember coming to your class at first, and I was like, what is this guy talking about? I was like, I'm very skeptic at first, but because I saw it and I was in the classroom, it was just something completely foreign. What this guy's telling me to wallow and to be seagrass and to close my eyes and to brush the floor and massage the floor with my feet, and You know, I was very resistant to it at first. I think a lot of dancers are, because they're almost in a way poisoned by the stereotypical, you have to look this way and have this, and everyone has to look the same. And I was struck first of all by John's passion as a teacher. I couldn't believe what he was saying and how he would talk to each specific dancer and give them things to think about. And I knew that training-wise, you and Ching were like jumping like baboons. You guys were amazing, and I just didn't understand how girl dancers could jump like that. It didn't make any sense, and you'd take up the room. The spatial consumption was like, whoa, and I was dancing my little box, you know, and so I kind of wanted to taste a part of that, because I just felt something just totally different. And so here I am 4 years later, and I know what it was that I was trying to go for now.
There's no square lines anywhere, and structure has what? Squareness to it. Nice and neat little package, all right? And our bodies aren't nice, neat little packages. They're these incredibly unpredictable, wonderful, sentient, spontaneous things that can do amazing things. That structure you're talking about, all right, is understanding how to work the process, not placements and places, not looks, not, you know, knickknacks and all that, place settings. It's none of that. It's how understanding how I have you doing the bar work, breaking down, opening up the channels so you can absorb feeling from the floor and through natural layers of muscle resistance, feeding the physiology, all right, so that way you feed the spirit. The spirit wants to know its connection with this mechanism. This is its voice. This whole thing is its vocal cord. Right? And so you're not dealing on a psychological level anymore. You're bypassing that. Structure is psychological. It's all coming from the same stream here.
John, you know, when I first came to him, he said we were going to dwell on the 1%, because it's 1% that got you there. So we started kind of chiseling away at me, at all the superficial technique that I had going on, and started going to the core of who I was, and I started dancing, being able to realize how I could dance naturally within my own body.
But that's the hard part, letting go. So the cliche of letting go is not what you thought it was originally, is it? Letting go. It's a full-blown commitment, man. It's a whole life change. It's you know, it's magical, but scary. And so you have to be willing to take that ride, you know, without a seatbelt on.